Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jeremy, founder of quickmail.io.
Hey, and this is Jack, Chief Lead Generation Officer at salesspread.com.
Today,
Today, rapid
rapid
fire.
fire.
Pew, 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 pew. All right. And just before we dive into the questions, we're going to do question number 1 with you, Jeremy. So get ready. Here it goes. How long do I need to wait after an inbox reputation is trashed before cold emailing again?
Good question. I get that constantly. Basically, I would say it's about 4 weeks. It depends on your provider. It depends on a lot of factors, but roughly, do it for 4 weeks. But here's the caveat. Don't stop everything about email. Keep on, if you have an auto warmer, keep on using it. And if you say, but Jeremy, I'm paying for that auto warmer. Can I just use QuickMail? It's free. So use QuickMail, use the auto warmer, leave it for 4 weeks. And then after that, you can come back.
Resume.
And also at the auto warmer, you should be able to see if your deliverability is improving as well, because the auto warmer should tell you if you're ending up in spam or so. Just watch it, but usually the rule of thumbs, 4 weeks.
Okay, cool. 4 weeks. Let's move right along with the deliverability theme. Question 2, how long do I need to warm up in inbox 4? Jeremy, back to you.
Another question I get very often, but if this is a brand new one, I say 2 to 4 weeks. Again, I would say is about the right thing. People can start cold emailing after 2 weeks. Some people will start 3 to be a bit more safe. And again, it all depends on your volume. If you want to reach 500 emails, then you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. But let's say on average, if you're planning on doing 50 emails a day, having 3 weeks is definitely good enough for auto warm up. And again, don't switch it off once you start your cold email. Mix it up with your cold email so as to keeping your deliverability higher.
Okay. Question 3, I think I may get an at-bat with this one. Who should I consider? What should I consider before paying for intent data? Here's my thing you should consider here. Your market size. If there's only 500 accounts that are worth selling to, then intent data is not going to be quite helpful, because you can pretty quickly reach out to all of your market and revisit all of your market. Intent data should help you prioritize accounts. So if you're in a small market, you may invest that money, because intent data is expensive relative. Invest it in maybe another hire that can help with phone sales, following up with leads, as opposed to phoning up for the intent data. Jeremy, you got anything there?
Yeah, just for the audience, intent data is a signal that this person will do something. Like, can you just define it quickly? Yep. Give an example,
so
maybe.
Intent data compiles data from third parties like credit card processors or internet providers, matched with IP addresses to try and figure out, okay, a lot of searches for marketing agencies have been coming from this IP address that has been linked to this company. So a practical example is certain data providers, for example, ZoomInfo, can show you who is out there searching for or clicking on ads about marketing. And they get quite specific, but in short, it tries to help you figure out which accounts or which people are likely searching for what you sell, so that you can beat the competitors to the pitch, I suppose.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Who should be the face of the outreach campaign at a company? All right. So there's a couple it depends going on. The first one is it depends how big the company is. Right. So if you're a very large company, it may be wildly inappropriate for the CEO to be sending outreach messages. Why? Because it's not believable that Tim Cook is reaching out to you specifically during his lunch break. It will backfire. Smaller companies need to consider who's going to be on the sales call. If you are too busy or not willing to participate in any part of the closing process, then I don't believe you should be the face of the campaign. So a CEO that signs off on cold emails and LinkedIn messages needs to be okay with at some point joining in for a call. Oftentimes it's a short 15-minute thing alongside your business development VP. And then if there's something interesting, the VP will take it from there. So it's only appropriate if you're willing to do that. On a plus side, CEOs that reach out tend to have stronger metrics. So if you're a founder, you have a nice job title, you're going to enjoy higher reply rates than, let's say, client success, AEs, or SDRs.
SDRs, yeah.
Yep. Okay, Jeremy. Unless you have anything, let's move on to...
I didn't hear your pitch, by the way. I think this is a nice break in the episode. So can we hear the pitch of SalesBread, your agency?
Yeah, that's nice. I was going to save it for the money question that's coming up. However,
we could too.
Today, most B2B companies lack the time or expertise to turn cold prospects into warm leads and appointments. At salesbread.com, we generate 1 lead per day using highly personalized cold emails and LinkedIn messages. If you're curious about what's working today or have some questions about how SalesBread process brings a lead a day, even if you're going after blood red competitive markets, then head over to salesbread.com/contact and I'll show you what's going on. I'll pull back the curtain. Thanks, Jeremy. You got a note on QuickMail?
Just use QuickMail. It's fantastic if you need any cold outreach by email. All right, let's move on. What's the next question, Jack?
Course.quickmail.io. All right, next question is are custom domain trackers really important for deliverability?
Oh, that's a good one. Yes, it is, because if you think about it, if I'm sending an email from my domain, let's say I'm sending tennis racket, for example, and my domain is tennisracket.com, right? I'm sending an email from this domain. It will look odd if there is, a link in that email that says, I don't know, tracking.mysoftware.com. It really is like a different domain. And so therefore, spam filter will say, well, hold on a second, you're coming from this domain and they're trying to send to another domain. What's the domain reputation of the other domain? And most of the time, not all, but some tools are overusing the same link for the domain tracking. And so that reputation of the domain link is bad. And so therefore adding it into your own email will be bad. So a way to get around this is to create your own domain tracking. So if you have tennisracket.com, you could create something like hello.tennisracket.com. It will still be perceived as the same domain, but yet it will be a redirection to the software that you're using in order to track things, whether it's an open click, an open, right, or an image. And so the short thing is that ideally, yes, have a custom domain tracking because it will improve your deliverability and make you not dependent on the software deliverability reputation that you're using.
I also understand that a lot of these custom domains, if they're not customized, they're pooled. So you're going to be sharing that tracking link with many other cold emailers. And if they're not up to your standards, you may be dragged down in your deliverability because of those that you share it with, right?
Yes. And one thing I will add, and not all tools do it. And in fact, we're only releasing this feature next week, so it's timely. But basically, if you're adding multiple different domains, like you got, tennisracket.com, tennisracket.co, tennisracket.io, because you want to sort of rotate the domains, then you can't use just one custom domain tracking. You have to use one on a per domain that you're using. It's a very simple thing to change in your DNS record. Usually it takes no time. It's just a technical thing that has to be done like SPF or DKIM, and it's a technical setup. But if you go through the trouble of doing that, you're going to enjoy a bit better deliverability. Yeah.
All right, rapid fire. Next question. How many clients do I need to have before I worry about advanced automation and putting all that in place? So this is a question for our agencies out there, right? So I'm going to say, if you are an agency, you need them before you have one client. So I know this flies in the face of all the recommendations we've given most cold emailers, but what gives is you are no longer trying it out. You're an agency charging money for the service. You need to be a pro. And in order to do that, you need advanced automation from day one. You need to essentially be a power user. That's what you're being paid to do.
Yeah.
So why? Because without advanced automation, things can slip through the crack. And you say, Jack, but it's only one client. Surely I can manage. Well, if you're any good, you're going to get 3 clients very quickly. And if you don't have those things in place, then you're going to miss out on client replies, on alerts that you need to be notified on. So I'm going to say 0 is the answer.
Interesting. I have a slightly different spin, but maybe because I'm an advanced tool, for cold outreach, where we have plenty of tools that are entry level, I would say. But very often when I go into sales pitch, the people who actually come to Quick Mail, they're starting reading 10 different clients, and then they have scalability issues at some point or another, whether it's in their process, whether it's in the deliverability and things like that. But I would say, for me, after you reach type of 10, you really already need to have all this really nailed down. Otherwise, you will never go above. And I think that's a growth impediment to stay. That would limit your growth if you actually stay with sort of like basic entry level tools. Like I got, as a quick example, I know a company, a lead generation agency company that is like at 10. They can't go above because they bought lifetime deals of another app in an absolutely nightmare. They spend a lot of time. Every time I have a conversation with that person, I say like, why don't you just use Quick Mail? They say, because I got lifetime deals. But it makes no sense to me because they're losing like so much time having to manage all of that. They never go above 10. It's like that the top limit, top capacity kind of thing. It doesn't scale. So not very smart, but I would say, yeah, it depends on your aspiration. If you want 2-3 clients, just do one of those like easy tool on the market. I think that's okay. But after that, it's going to be difficult to scale.
Well, speaking of lead generation agencies, next question is, how much do they charge?
So, I can answer this one if you don't want to sort of like disclose prices.
No, so I'm not going to disclose pricing. If you're curious, go to salesbread.com/contact. Tell me what you're working on. Share the URL to your business. I'll make sure that you are a candidate, I suppose, and then we'll just have the pricing conversation right there. I've been contacted by competitors who have tried to disguise themselves. Of like, anytime I get an email, it's like, hey, how much are your services? I'm gonna look at who sent that.
Mouse and whisker approach. You're being
it's
mouse
even
and
worse
whiskered.
than mouse and whisker. It's like sneaky competitor research. But
interesting.
I mean, the whole purpose is you don't want to have a pricing call with somebody who's unqualified. So, anyways,
true.
We should probably talk about the pricing models. There are agencies that do pay per lead, right? And there are flat rate agencies, and there are mixed mode agencies that take some upfront and then commission on the leads generated, and then a percentage of the revenue made should that deal close, right? So quite a few different ways to do it. FYI, SalesBread does the flat rate model. What do you got, Jeremy? I know you speak to a lot of agencies. So
so I speak to a lot of them. And one thing that really surprised me is that it's funny that you're mentioning the model. Whatever agency you're going to have a conversation with, they're going to be different. And sure enough, you have some broad strokes, but at the end of the day, they all have very different ways of dealing with business. I would say roughly when they're purely cold email outreach, because that's my specialties, that's going to vary drastically. Well, 2 times 2 or 3 to 4 times. You're going to have some people on a very low end that will charge you about $700 a month. And you find a lot of people between 2 and 3K. That's usually where the bulk margin is. And then after that, you got to 5 or 7K. But that's much more, that's rare. And it's mostly because they go like full enterprise. They're not going to SMB type of thing. So that's basically the type of money you can sort of expect, I would say, you have to pay if you go for an agency.
All right, let's keep it rolling here. If I have 10 salespeople at my company sending cold emails, should they all have their own domain, or should they share one? What's the deal with that? Jeremy, kick us off here.
You don't have to necessarily. You can have if your domain is very strong and you use it for not just cold email, or if you have great engagement, and of course you will have the auto warmer turned on. I think it's okay if your volume is very low to have just different email for the same domain. If you start to scale up a little bit, I think you will need to have multiple domains. For a simple fact is, if you have like 10 salespeople, imagine suddenly your domain is blacklisted tomorrow, you got 10 salespeople that can't work at all until everything is just brought up to speed. So I would say, keep having like 2-3 domains, definitely. So if one is going down, let it cool down, keep the auto warmer up for the engagement, and then rely on the other one for the time being. But always have like 2-3 for 10 people, I would say.
That's a thorough answer. I like your note on putting your eggs not all in one basket.
Yeah,
right?
When you got 10 people, it's a bit silly.
Yeah. So I like the idea of maybe keeping in mind with volume, maybe it's like 3 reps per domain with a backlog potentially.
Interesting. I would say that usually it's 1 rep with 3 inboxes, and those 3 inboxes are on 3 domains. So the whole team is sharing 3 domains, but every person has like 3 email addresses. And again, it depends on the volume, right? So if you're doing only like, volume, 50 emails a day, this is fine. 1 or 2 domain and have a second one as a backup. That's okay. That's acceptable.
There you go.
But usually when you are 10, you're more like just, about the 500 emails a day kind of thing. And so, yeah, it's different game.
All right. Another question for our agency listeners: what metrics should I focus on and communicate to my clients?
Oh yeah, which one?
I'll take this one for a spin, Jeremy. So the metric is leads generated. You're paid to generate leads and book appointments. So communicate that first and foremost. I find that if you're keeping the sales team happy and your clients are making money, then how you do that is less pressing of an issue, right? Imagine you're selling network cables and your lead generation company is sending you hungry people that need network cable. Well, by golly, the rest of the story is honestly less interesting. It's as long as you're consistent with good leads, then your clients are going to be satisfied. I would say from the agency side itself, there's a lot of metrics you need to worry about in order to maintain that lead flow, such as open rates, such as reply rates, such as prospects available, all that stuff. But focus on leads generated for your client, if you ask me.
I think it's a great answer, and there is really 2 worlds. There's like, what metrics are you looking for doing your job properly, and what metrics do you actually communicate to your clients? And I think you answered it pretty well.
All right, should we carry on?
Yep.
It's the last one.
Ooh,
it's the last one, and if this doesn't do it for you and you're still not satisfied with cold email know-how, go to course.quickmail.io. It's where we put most of our good stuff that the podcast cannot hold, because there's a lot of video and other media there that covers the gauntlet of cold email. Okay, so what should I be doing when somebody replies, "I'm not interested"?
Cry. Go in the corner of the room and cry out loud for a long time.
No, I don't believe that you would suggest that. What do you got in mind, Jeremy? I'm curious.
Well, it depends how much this lead is worth, honestly. If every contract you have is like, $10K.
$10,000.
Yeah, don't stop at just simple no, right? And even if this prospect is only $50, a month potentially, whatever. I mean, still, show curiosity, because you may actually learn things as to why they're not interested. Maybe it's because there is industry event coming up you didn't hear of, or maybe it's because, so you're going to learn stuff, right? Unless you're like in that phase where like, know it all kind of thing. I think that's a great way of learning. Plus, most of the time is, they're not interested for some reason that, you haven't communicated well in your email. So you can also use that as an excuse to write better cold email, going in the future. Yep. There's so many reasons why you would want to answer. At the same time, don't keep on running on someone who's not interested either. So what do you got, Jack?
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So I have a client in mind. Shout out to Mary. So one of my clients will uh, always follow up, even if it's a reply that we're not sending her way. She, I think, has the outbound attitude nailed down, where she really enjoys trying to respond to somebody. Like, she loves getting negative replies because I can see she's in her inbox, like messaging. She's on LinkedIn, going back into the threads
Fun.
there, just because she's either trying to figure out more insight that she didn't know before. So she has this beginner's mind, which is amazing, and she's not afraid to know. But the other time is she approaches it really playfully, like that's really funny. I actually, and then she'll explain why it would be kind of impossible for them not to have an interest, because she'll explain something that wasn't mentioned before. It's like, she'll sort of spin around where it's like, actually, I was wondering how you're doing
Straight
X.
line
And
selling.
sort of, yeah, and it works. I can see the conversation thread, and all I can say is, if you're curious, if you want to learn more about your prospects, try replying with this attitude of like beginner's mind. Try and approach it playfully, and see where the conversation goes. Now, from a more practical standpoint, if what I just said means nothing to you because you'd have no idea what you should actually say, an easy thing that you can be doing is just getting back to them and saying, sounds good. Is it okay if I follow up next quarter? You might have 25% of people that say sure to that. And those people that say sure are going to be really easy to get another reply from, because they've sort of already committed to you to hear back in 4 months, or excuse me, 3 months time. Right. So that's an easy slam dunk.
One thing that I will build on. So I love your one from a sales standpoint. If you're doing some business intelligence, which I keep on doing all the time, I reply sometimes something like, "Hey, that's cool, no problem. Do you mind if I ask you like a quick question? What tool are you currently using for doing X? Or how do you actually handle X or Y or Z?" Because usually when they're not interested, they may have either a misconception, or or something that is legit on how they're not interested in solving this problem, because maybe they solve it already in a great way, plus it will teach you maybe about your competitors, or those sort of thing. And sometimes they could reply, "Oh, well, we're using XYZ," and then you could say, "Well, that's funny, we got plenty of XYZ coming for us because of this problem. Are you guys not using?" And you sort of like building up on this conversation. And yeah, I think it's a lot of things to say about this, but that would be for another cast, of course.
That's right. Well, Jeremy, thanks for another not so rapid fire episode.
We need to be faster in those, man.
Yeah.
Terrible.
All right. Until next time.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Awesome.
See ya.